So I think we should get started. Welcome everyone to our weekly Parsha class. As I said, today's Torah class will be on this week's portion, which discusses the last three plagues and the exodus from Egypt itself, a great long story. But I'm going to, in this week's, I'll briefly go through the portion with you at the first 5 minutes, and then we'll zero in on tonight's subject, which is the plague of darkness, which is quite a fascinating story. So, the portion of Bo, which is this week, begins to God's warning to Pharaoh through Moshe that he must let the Jewish people go, and if not, he will be punished with the plague of locust. That there will be millions of locusts that will devour every last bit of vegetation that's in Egypt, and that actually happens. And Pharaoh summons Moses, says, go, but he makes conditions. Moshe doesn't accept them, and Pharaoh gets angry, and he doesn't send the Jews out. God sends Moshe to tell him that he's going to bring upon Egypt the ninth plague, which is the plague of darkness. And we will describe the plague of darkness in a few minutes, but basically the whole Egypt turned dark, except for where the Jews were, and that also didn't break Pharaoh enough, and Moses is told to tell Pharaoh about the 10th plague, which is the plague of the death of the firstborn, and that already shakes Pharaoh to the core, because he himself is the firstborn, and he's very worried in the middle of the night that night when the Jews are eating their Passover lamb. They got the mitzvah, of course, of the mitzvah of offering the Pesach sacrifice, which was to be offered in Egypt while they were still there the last night, and they were told to eat matzah with bitter herbs in Egypt at that first experience with the meat of the Paschal offering, and they were told to eat it in a certain way, and it was a whole beautiful description, and they did that, and the Jews do it, and at midnight the plague strikes. At midnight, the plague strikes. All the firstborn of Egypt die. There's not a house in Egypt that there's no dead person there, even animals. And Pharaoh now comes running himself to Moses. He says, go. And the Jews are chased out of Egypt. They're not just let go, but they're actually chased out of Egypt. And the Jews go out in a big number, 600,000 men, besides all the women and the children and the elders, those that are above 60. And it was probably numbered somewhere in the vicinity between 1.5 million and 2 million Jews left Egypt that next day. And at the very end of the portion, we get the mitzvah, a number of mitzvahs. God tells Moshe about the mitzvah, the redemption of the firstborn because of the plague of the firstborn, the miracle that happened for the Jews. We have the mitzvah tefillin in this portion, and so on. Yeah. With that said, that brings us. That's more or less the portion in a nutshell. But what I want to do now, as I said to you, I want to focus in on the story of the plague of darkness, zero in on that, and present to you an essay, an explanation that the Rebbe himself offered on this subject. And what I want to do is, before we get into the Rebbe's explanation, I want to read out of the text. I'll make it as quick as possible. I want to read out of the text the story of the plague of the plague of darkness. Okay. It's in this Chumash. It's on page 374. Oh, sorry, no. Oh, yeah, 374. So it's in Exodus chapter 10, verse 21, 22, and 23. And I'm going to read them now for you. God said to Moses, raise your hand toward the sky so that there will be darkness upon Egypt. And the darkness will be darker than that of night, so dark that it will be palpable. verse 21. Now I'm going into 22. In other words, the Torah tells us that the plague of darkness was such a plague that it didn't only turn dark in Egypt. It actually became a thick darkness, so that wherever an Egyptian found himself when the plague struck, or you'll see soon that it was actually 3 days and 3 days. The first 3 days it was regular darkness, and then another 3 days where the darkness thickened and the Egyptians got stuck where they were. It was like a black mask was surrounded them. It was the darkness that was thick, like maybe stone or something, where they couldn't move. If they were sitting, they got stuck in their seats for 3 full days. And the verse continues. So Moses raised his hand towards the sky. This plague lasted for only 6 days rather than a full week. First, there was an opaque darkness in all of Egypt for 3 days. No Egyptian man could see his brother even by firelight. Okay? But then there was another 3 days where no Egyptian could rise from his place. He got stuck in his place, as I said, because the darkness was a thick darkness. Then the verse ends, there was light for all the Israelites in their dwellings. Okay? That's the story as it is in the Parsha here. It's 3 short verses. And that's the 9th plague. Now, I'm going to present to you tonight 2 opinions as how this plague happened, what exactly happened over here, and that of Rashi and that of the Midrash, although it seems that Rashi and the Midrash are saying the same thing, but as the Rebbe points out in this essay, that they are saying very different things, and he explains them both, and at the end of this essay he explains the beautiful lesson that we can take from it today in our day and age. Okay? So remember what it was. God tells him, strike your staff in the sky, and it will become dark in Egypt. First 3 days it was a regular darkness, it was a full darkness, and then another 3 days it was a thick darkness which trapped the Egyptians where they were. They couldn't move. But for the Jews it says, there was light in their dwellings, okay? Now, the Midrash, I'm going to start with the Midrash. The Midrash says as follows, that in these 3 days where the Egyptians were struck with darkness, were plagued with darkness, the Jewish people would go into the houses of the Egyptians, and they would, and a light, says the Midrash, followed them. There was a light, although it was pitch dark for the Egyptians, but the Jews went into the houses, and like a beam, like a laser beam of light, followed them, and lit up every single nook and cranny in the house of the Egyptian where there was gold, silver, money, treasures, valuables. And in the words of the Midrash, that it lit up, that beam of light, that laser light that followed the Jews into the houses of the Egyptians, lit up even in this, it lit up the barrels, what was in the barrels, it lit up what was in their chests, it lit up what was in their hiding places on the ground, on top of in the boidim, as we say, in the attic, or wherever they kept their stuff. That light crept all over, wherever there was a hiding place where the Egyptians held things, into their barrels, wherever, and it lit it up so that the Jews can see what's there. The Jews didn't take anything, but they saw what was there. Why did they see what was there? Because later, as we know, God instructed the Jewish people after the 10th plague. Well, God tells Moshe, do me a favor and tell the Jewish people to tell the Jewish people to go before they leave Egypt, and each Jew should borrow as much gold, silver, valuables from their Egyptian neighbors, so that God can, with this way, fulfill the promise he made to Abraham many, many centuries earlier. That you remember that what God told Abraham. God told Abraham that there's going to, when he met him the first time, when he made the covenant with him, he tells him that I'm going to enslave your descendants in a foreign land. Of course, he meant Egypt, and they will be enslaved there for a long, long time, for hundreds of years. But don't worry, at the end, they will go out with great riches. So here now God says, I got to fulfill my promise. So how does he make the promise get fulfilled? How are they going to go out with riches? So he makes this miracle happen according to the Midrash, that when the Goyim are in their darkness,
it's payday.
It's when the Goyim are in the darkness, when the Egyptians are in the darkness, they now find out exactly where everything is. Now what happens at the end? Indeed, when they leave Egypt, they go to their neighbors, and the neighbors told them, you asked me for, a Jew asked him for some gold, some silver. He says, I don't have any. So the Jew can tell him, I know that you have. It's in this barrel, it's in that chest, it's in that closet, it's in that attic, it's in that under your bed, under your pillow, in that shoebox, whatever it is, right? Because that light followed them and lit up every area where there was a where there was a treasure. That's the Midrash, what the Midrash says. Let's read Rashi a minute. Rashi says,
Rabbi,
yeah.
can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
It's a philosophical question. Whatever you read, God insists that what is important is the spiritual more than the material.
Yeah.
Why would he give so much relevance to
Good question. It's a very good question.
Egyptians' possessions?
It's a very good question, and I will answer that question towards this class will deal with that question. The answer will be in this class. In fact, the Midrash says that this was one of the reasons for this miracle, for the ninth plague. Why did Hashem make the ninth plague? For this reason, so that it's dark for them, so the Jews are able to go in there and figure out what they have, so they can empty them out and take what they have. What does Rashi say? I'll quote Rashi. Rashi talks about the 3 days and the 3 days. Oops, he fell off. And he says that why were they unable to see anyone? So that they should be able to go in there. In the same moments to say exactly what the Midrash says, say that so that later they should be able to borrow from them and they shouldn't be able to deny that they have it, they can say to them, I know where it is, and so on, right? Now, this is what Rashi says, this is what the Midrash says at the surface. It looks like they're both saying the same thing. But I want to point out a number of differences, and that's going to be you're going to appreciate the differences a little later. First of all, Rashi doesn't say that there was this laser beam of light that followed the Jews into their houses, this miraculous light that suddenly appeared. He doesn't talk about such a miraculous light that followed the Jews into every nook and cranny. Second thing is, Rashi says that when the Jews went into the houses of the Egyptians, they started looking for treasures. They searched their homes for treasures. The Midrash doesn't make a mention of the fact that there was a search. Why? It's obvious, because according to the Midrash, there was no need to search. The light did the job for them. The light pointed to every place where there was something. There was no need to search. The light revealed it all for them. It's like there was no problem. The only difference, what?
And could only the Jews see the light?
Oh, that light for sure only the Jews can see. But even according to Rashi, where there was no such miraculous light, so there was darkness, how did they see anything? And even if they did search, how did they see? It's very simple. The darkness was only a plague for the Egyptians, not for the Jews.
Makes sense.
But what light did they see? The regular light. What light do you have at 12 o'clock in the afternoon? The sunlight, whatever. So you go into a house, So what are you going to find over there? You'll find, it depends how much you look. If you look under the bed, you maybe find something. If it may be a little dark under this, you're not going to bother. You're going to look in the closets. Again, it's maybe dark in the closet. You're going to look on the surface more, depending on you, how much you want to search. You'll find. You want to look for more, you'll find more. You want to look for less, you'll find less, right?
Was the water?
But what light did they see? It was the natural light that was shining anyway on a regular day.
Was the water blood for the Jewish people or only for?
Of course, only for the Egyptians, yeah.
So therefore, I agree with Rashi.
One second.
Okay.
The third difference between Rashi and the Midrash, and I want you to pay attention, is that Rashi doesn't, the Midrash says that they looked in the barrels and in the chests and in their suitcases. It lit up everywhere. Whereas Rashi doesn't mention about these, every nook and cranny. He just says they went in and they searched. It doesn't say they searched in barrels and in boxes and chests and in hiding places. Why? It's obvious, because according to the Rashi, there was no such light that lit up these places. According to the Midrash, the light shone everywhere. Okay. In other words, to sum this up in a nutshell, what's the difference between Rashi and the Midrash? According to Rashi, there was no miraculous light. There was no miraculous light. They didn't, and therefore they didn't see what's in the barrel, unless they broke it open. I guess the light that, according to the Midrash, that was like a laser beam, it went through the walls of the barrel, you go into a CT machine, you see everything, X-ray, an X-ray machine, what?
X-ray vision.
X-ray vision, exactly. They saw right through everything. Okay. But Rashi says there was no such thing, so they didn't see what was really hidden in enclosed boxes and so on. How did the Jewish people see when they went into the houses? That which they did when they went searching. What did they saw? The natural light that was there, right? Explain that. In other words, according to the Midrash, it's a double miracle happening over here. According to Rashi, it's only one miracle. What was the one miracle according to Rashi? That God plagued the Egyptians with absolute darkness, when it shouldn't have. The 3 days darkness is a pure miracle. According to the Midrash, but the Jews, they didn't experience a miracle, because in other words, the darkness was only like every other plague. It only plagued the Egyptians, but as far as the Jews, to them it was a normal day. So there's no miracle for them. According to the Midrash, there was two miracles here. On the one hand, it was dark for the Egyptians, this miraculous darkness, and then for the Jews, there was this miraculous light, so that they can find every kind of treasure that the Egyptians had.
Could be.
And Ben's question is a good question. Why is there a need to so they wouldn't go out with money? What are we making a big deal of money anyway? Since when is by us a big story that we found money? We should be looking for spiritual things, not physical things.
They hadn't been paid for a long time.
They hadn't been paid. You're right. They deserved it.
So
That's not.
some back pay.
You're right. That was the back pay. Maybe that was the reward. That was it. But still, to make a whole story out of it, why? Why to make a whole story out of it? So let's try to understand what really lies at the foundation. Now, I want to point out another nuance, just one more nuance. According to the Midrash, where there was this miracle, he interprets the last verse over here, that for all Jews there was light in their dwelling places, right? That's what it says there. The Midrash says, what is light in all the dwelling places? When you look at it simply, the way Rashi sees that verse, it means simple that where the Jews lived in Goshen, there was a place where the Jews were designated to live, and that was in the region of Goshen. Over there was no darkness. Over there was light. For the Jews, there was no problem. The Midrash says much more. It doesn't say that there was light in Goshen. If there was light, if you only want to tell me is where the Jewish cities were, that there was light, say there was light in Goshen, there was no problem over there. Like it says by other plagues, that in Goshen there was no problem. Hold on. It says there was light in all their dwellings. This is an interesting word. Says the Midrash, what does he mean by that? He means that wherever a Jew went, a light followed him. and with this miraculous light. Wherever wherever he walked, wherever he spent time, wherever he found himself, there was this light that followed them into the houses, into these nook and crannies, as we said before. Okay.
I changed my thought. I agree with Midrash.
We'll see soon.
Because the blood and
the question is, what really are they arguing about? What lies at the foundation of their argument? Rashi and the Midrash are not just, trying to be like there's an extra miracle. He says there was no extra miracle. What is this based on? What are they arguing about? What's the fundamental of this argument? As I mentioned earlier, the reason for this plague was so that God can fulfill the injunction, his promise, that the Jews would leave with good fortune when they left. And in fact, God told Moshe to tell the Jewish people to go and empty out Egypt. Go get from them whatever you can. Which, by the way, the Midrash says an interesting thing. It's not really related, but I want to mention it. When you think about it, when the Jews come to you and say, can I borrow all your gold and silver? You're just going to give someone all your gold and silver? You trust him that he's going to give it back to you? What went on over here? Why were they so willing to give them? So some people say, well, just take it and run. All our firstborn are dying. Whatever you want, just leave already. It's much more than that. They trusted the Jews. What happened over here? Think about it. The Jews told the Egyptians, we know where this stuff are. Why? Because we went into your houses when you were in darkness and we saw it. Oh, they were honest. They didn't take it away from us then. Okay, we can trust them. If they wanted to steal from us, they would have stolen it then. The fact that they didn't steal is because they wanted permission to take it. So we can trust that they're okay. That was interesting interpretation that the Midrash says why the Egyptians were so trusting of the Jews, because they said if they were looking to steal from us, they had an opportunity to steal, and they didn't. So they're pretty honest. So if they say that they're just borrowing it, I can trust them. At the end, they didn't bring it back. Because like he said, this was payday. They owed them all this money. Are you kidding? They owed them 10 times more. Anyway. So what's the reason for this plague, as we said? The reason is that the Jewish people have to now fulfill the commandment of Hashem that they should take their treasures from Egypt. And that's why God made this plague, to make it possible for them to do this, so that they don't see, they can go and find it, and so on. Very good. Now we know, and this is fundamental, we know, and so really it's an important question, important concept. When you fulfill mitzvahs, there's a way we do a mitzvah. We try to make sure never to do a mitzvah through miraculous circumstances. We don't want to do our mitzvahs through miracles. You need an esrog. An esrog should fly through the window, and you have an esrog on Sukkot. We're not looking for miracles. We want to go to Italy, cut down the tree, and cut down the esrog, and pay the money, and do everything we have to within the natural order to fulfill our mitzvahs. Why is this? And this is a rule. Every mitzvah has to be done miraculous, in a most natural way. Even the circumstances of the mitzvah have to be done as I'll explain in a minute. Not just the mitzvah itself, but even the circumstances that lead up to the mitzvah have to be done in the natural, have to be naturally, have to be possible through the rules of nature. Why is this? Because what's the whole reason we do mitzvahs? Why did God give the Torah to the Jewish people at Mount Sinai? He gave us the mitzvahs in order that we should bring holiness into the physical world. What are one of the parameters of the physical world? Is nature. If you're going to break nature you're going to move away nature to do a mitzvah, that means you didn't penetrate the nature, the lowest element, the physical parameters of this world with holiness. You moved away from nature. The only way you can bring holiness into the world is if nature moves away. No, we don't want that. We want that the mitzvah should be able to penetrate the nature. In other words, the holiness of God, godliness should be able to penetrate the physical world, and which includes the parameters of the physical world that it's in the natural world. So we want it to penetrate the natural order. So if you start doing mitzvahs in a miraculous way, you've defeated the purpose. You're not doing what you're supposed to. It's not what God wants. There's a famous story about this with Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe brings it in the Sikha. The Alter Rebbe says, and the story goes that the Alter Rebbe was in prison. When he was arrested in prison in 1798, he was in prison for 7 weeks, and this terrible story when the 19th of Kislev he was released, right, the famous, the whole beautiful Yom Tov. So where was he in prison? He was in prison in St. Peter, right outside of St. Petersburg, or in St. Petersburg, but the actual prison was on an island. They put it on like Rikers Island, like, what do you call the one in San Francisco over there? Alcatraz, right. It's on an island. Why on an island? Shouldn't be able to escape. But that's where the prison was. When you'd go for an investigation, they'd take a little boat and bring the prisoner to the investigation, to the court, wherever it was that they investigated, that they interrogated, and they'd bring him on a boat to there and then bring him back to his cell. The Alter Rebbe was on his way to this interrogation from his cell. So he was in a boat going across this lake. The Alter Rebbe sees it's it's right at the beginning of the month, the Hebrew month. What do we do once a month? Once a month we do Kiddush Levana. We sanctify we make the blessing on the moon. So he says, great opportunity. I'm outside. While he was in the cell, he couldn't do it. But now he's in the outside in the open in the night. He looks up, the beautiful moon. He asks the guy in charge of the captain of the boat, he says, please stop the boat, I want to make this blessing. The captain laughed at him. The prisoner is telling me to stop the boat. Are you kidding me? He doesn't stop the boat. The Alter Rebbe says, stop the boat. And he won't stop the boat. Suddenly the boat, this thing broke, the paddle broke, the oar broke, this thing, it didn't move. It stopped by itself. Miraculously, the Alter Rebbe had it stopped. So the captain sees that he realizes this is a holy man, and he's not going to be able to deny him his request to make the blessing. So he says, what, the boat's stuck. Make your blessing now. He says, no. I want you to move the boat. The miracle stops. The miracle stops, and he says, go with the boat, start rowing, and now stop rowing, and I'll do the blessing. That's what the Alter Rebbe did. In other words, he made a miracle to get him to wake up. Don't start. Let a Jew do the mitzvah. But once he recognized that Alter Rebbe means business and you can't, now he wants to do it completely in the most natural way. I'm not interested in making the blessing on the moon, even though blessing the moon would have been totally, that itself would have been done the most natural way. But even the circumstances, what brought about that he should be able to, that the boat should stop, he doesn't want that either to happen through a miracle. So he says, no, you're going to start rowing again or getting the boat to move. It was no electric, obviously it was before that.
You couldn't do the blessing when the boat was moving?
No, you can't. No, you have to be stationary. So he told him, you now row, and I'll ask you to stop. He stops, and then he does the blessing. Why? It's because a mitzvah can't be done through a miracle.
What about davening mincha on the airplane on the way to Israel? I've done it with...
That's stationary. That's different. You're not moving around.
Okay. My question.
That's different. Yeah. Okay. But I don't know if you can do it, whatever, but you can't do it.
We had a minyan on the plane.
Yeah, no, you can make a minyan on the plane.
Okay.
Yeah. And therefore, Rashi takes the straightforward understanding of this and says a miracle couldn't have happened over here, with the story with the plague of darkness, an extra miracle. In other words, that the light should follow the Jews wherever they want to find all the treasures. That would have been fulfillment of God's commandment to get all those treasures through a miracle. That's not the way you fulfill a mitzvah. So Rashi says, no such miracle happened. No such miracle happened. What did happen was that God made a miracle that the Egyptians should not stand in the way. He makes it dark so they don't see. But the actual job, the mitzvah of the fulfillment of what the Jew is doing, that happens fully natural. He looks for it in a natural way. He has to bend down, look under it. All that was done in the most natural. And with what kind of light? A natural light. There was no miraculous light that would follow them, because then it would have defeated the whole purpose of a mitzvah, which is to penetrate the physical, natural world with godliness.
I'm switching back from the Midrash.
Oh, the Midrash? So now the question is, why is the Midrash say that? Now the question is about the Midrash. Why is the Midrash propose or posit the idea that there was a miracle. If that's true, that a mitzvah should be done through a miracle, through natural means, why is the Midrash proposing that there was this extra miracle which would have undone the purpose of the mitzvah or the fulfillment of the mitzvah, would have interfered with the ultimate goal of fulfilling a mitzvah naturally? So the answer is two answers. Number one, the Rebbe says that this idea, when did it start that we have to penetrate the world with holiness, and the natural world with holiness? When did that start?
When the Torah came.
When the Torah was given. If you remember, when is this story of the plague of darkness?
Before the
This
Torah
is
was
before the Torah was given. It's before the Jews even left Egypt. So this is not a time of what was the mitzvah performance all about before the Torah was given. You see, I want to explain this because this is fundamental. And I explained this many times, but I'll say it again anyway. When God created the world, He made a separation between heaven and earth. He made a clear separation between heaven and earth. Heaven will never be able to merge with earth, and earth will never be able to rise towards heaven and become spiritual. In other words, the spiritual and the physical were two different domains. They can never become one. They can never merge. But the purpose of creation was that, on the contrary, that the heaven and earth should become one. God and the earth should merge and fuse and become one. That holiness should penetrate the physical world. But that started when God gave the Torah. He said, I'm removing the separation. And I'm going to start, he says. I'm going to descend. I'm going to bring heaven down to earth. That's why it says God descended onto Mount Sinai. He brought heaven down to earth. And he told Moshe, you come up the mountain. He took earth and brought it up. So God fused and merged heaven and earth, spiritual and the physical. But before that, that was not really such a possibility. So we don't care if they did a mitzvah back then through miraculous means. It doesn't make a difference because we don't have the ability really to penetrate earth anyway. To bring holiness into the physical world that easily anyway. So it doesn't make a difference, according to the Midrash, if the mitzvah then was just done for my own spiritual growth, but not so much to elevate the physical world. And therefore, I don't care if it's done. A miracle, not miracle, it doesn't make a difference. A miracle mitzvah is also just fine. Back then. That's one reason why the Midrash says there's no problem with a miracle. The second reason he says is like this. What mitzvah are we talking about over here?
taking the gold.
Taking the gold from Egypt. That was a mitzvah.
Right.
It wasn't a mitzvah. It was more of it's time to reward the Jewish people for their hard work. So that's not a mitzvah. That's not the conventional mitzvah that we have, like when we shake a lulav and esrog, we put on tefillin, we give charity, all the things that we do. Those are mitzvahs that were charged to elevate and to bring holiness into the physical world. When God was telling the Jews to empty out Egypt, it wasn't so much to fulfill a mitzvah with that intention, to fuse heaven and earth. It was more to give Jews the reward that they deserved. So when God's giving reward, what's wrong with it? And in fact, it says that every part of that was done through a miracle, actually. That whole reward giving was one big miracle from beginning to end. It says that God created an environment between the Jews and the Egyptians, a loving environment. They got along suddenly. In other words, that the Jewish people found favor in the eyes of the Egyptians. How did that happen? They just knocked them out with 10 plagues, and suddenly they're loving them. But God made it that for that moment, when they asked them for the borrow all their treasures, they made them have a great feeling. In other words, everything was God. Everything was a miracle. Because why not? If God's giving you a reward, if it's God given, it's going to happen through God's means, which is, of course, beyond nature. God is not limited to nature. Now, to answer your question, Ben, why is this so important that we go out with treasures? The truth of the matter is,
We're children of a king.
yeah, what?
Children of a king, the royalty.
Here's the answer.
Darn, it's frozen.
What's frozen?
Get all the money.
You don't hear me?
Aren't we children of
Nothing anymore.
You don't hear me? Ben, you hear me?
Now I do. It was just
Okay.
temporarily. I have an
Okay,
unstable
good.
connection.
Okay, good.
Okay. I get a lot out of it. Maybe not 100%, but so I get 98% of it.
If you remember, I said before that according to Rashi, the fact that there was Jews, let me read this to you again. He says, Moshe strikes to heaven and darkness descends on Egypt for 3 days and then another 3 days, a thick darkness. And he ends it off, but for the Jews for the Jews in their dwellings there was light. So he said before, according to Rashi, that wasn't part of according to the Midrash, that verse that the Jews had light in their dwellings was part of the miracle, was part of the plague of darkness. What? Because how does he interpret that verse? That there was this laser beam light that followed the Jews. That's what he means, that all the Jews had the light in their dwellings. What does dwellings mean? We said it doesn't say Goshen. It says dwellings, because wherever the Jew went, he had light go with him. According to the Midrash, that was part of the plague. There was 2 parts to the plague. One is that there was a miracle that it went dark on the Egyptians, and that the Jews had a light that followed them into their homes and enabled them to empty them out. Eventually. According to Rashi, the fact that there was light for the Jews in their dwellings was not part of the plague of darkness. It happened like other plagues. When there was blood, the blood struck the Egyptian water, not the Jewish water. Over here too, the darkness struck the Egyptian, where the Jews lived. In Goshen, there was no darkness. It wasn't part of that. That verse is not part of the plague.
But there was blood.
It just didn't hit the Jews. What?
There was blood in Goshen.
No, the Jews' water did not turn into blood.
No, but there was blood in Goshen. No.
Not for the Jews. That's what I'm
Not
saying.
for the
Okay,
Jews.
that's what I mean. There was
No. But for the Egyptians.
Why is this? So here the Rebbe goes one step deeper in this whole discussion. I'll try to present it to you as best I can. Rashi says that the plague of darkness, it was 2 separate things. There was darkness in Egypt, and for the Jews in Goshen there was light. In life, we have it seems that we have 2 modes of existence, let's say 2 parts of our mission in life. One is exemplified by light, and one is exemplified by darkness. What do I mean? Light would be those areas where we learn Torah, where we daven. That's an environment of light, holiness, spirituality, right? When we raise our children in the ways of Torah, Shabbos, that's the area of our light. When we're engaged in Torah and mitzvahs, we're engaged in a world of light, and we elevate, and we become more spiritual, and so on. But then we have another part of our mission, which is the world of darkness. What's the world of darkness? When we finish davening, when we finish learning, we go in a home, we drop off our tefillin, and we go to work. We go into the workplace, and we have to deal with making money and doing business and working with a world that's very foreign to godliness. The world of darkness, the world of the physical. It's not the world of the spiritual. The world of the physical, which is a very dark place, a world of selfishness, a world of self-centeredness, a world of ego, and so on. I want, and you're in my way, and then, people can even be dishonest. And what's our job in the world of darkness? To go make money like a Jew. How do you make money like a Jew? You're honest. And with the money that you earn, you come home later and you send your children to Jewish school, you buy tefillin, you spend money on Torah, you give charity, and all those things that we do in other words, we go into the world of darkness with the purpose of somehow at the end, when we finish our work, we should utilize it for something holy, for something godly, right? L'shem shamayim, as we come to know the word. So Rashi says that this plague of darkness exemplifies these 2 things that happen that we're expected to do. On the one hand, there's a plague that is striking Egypt in darkness, and then the Jews have their own light in Goshen. It's not part of the plague, because according to Rashi, who sees things on the more simple face value level, which is what Rashi is. He explains the simple meaning of the verse. When you look at the situation of a Jew's life, it looks like there's two worlds. He has two worlds. There's the moment, there's his Shabbos, there's his morning prayer. That's a world of light. In Goshen, that's Goshen where the light is shining. It's great. His soul is becoming more elevated, more closer to God through Torah and mitzvahs. But then there's a world of darkness. There's a world of Egypt. And what's our job? To go into Egypt and to work and become involved in that dark world, but then to utilize it for something holy. Very good. But it looks like two separate missions. They're not one related to the other. The neshama has his mission: learn Torah, daven, elevate yourself, become closer to God. And then there's the body that has to go into the world and then and somehow to transform the world and make it also part of God's world. According to the Midrash. What is Midrash? Midrash is a form of learning, of understanding. It's a deeper level of understanding things. The Midrash goes into more what lies below the surface. It gets into the more deeper. What is the Midrash? Well, that's why I say the Midrash sees this as on a much deeper level. How so? According to the Midrash, the light that the Jewish people had was this miraculous laser beam light, as I described earlier, was part of the plague of darkness. In other words, he doesn't see in the metaphor of light and darkness in our own spiritual lives. Our spiritual life is light, and our physical life, material life, is darkness. He doesn't see these two as two separate things. It's all part of the same plague, meaning of the same. Our mission is one. What is the mission? It's not that in the morning you're in the world of light, and that's for your neshama. Your neshama should become a little holier and closer to God. And then we deal with the physical world and try to bring that and to elevate some of the physical world to God as well, or utilize it for a spiritual purpose. In other words, what do I mean by that? When you go into the world of darkness and you're working a full day to make a buck, that's not a holy endeavor. You're involved with mundane material things. You are a Jew, so you know that ultimately when you involve yourself in those world, that world of darkness, that the ultimate purpose is that you should then utilize that to profit at the end of the day when you make a few dollars, to utilize it for good purposes. So in a way, you're also doing it for God's purpose. But that alone was a very dark experience, if you will, devoid of holiness. You utilize it at the end. You were smart enough to take that money and use it for holiness. But the 8 hours in the workplace, that was it wasn't a holy endeavor, a holy experience. The Midrash says no. In the darkness, the Jew's mission is to go bring the light, that miraculous light. In other words, you don't separate these two missions. Your idea is to bring holiness. What's the whole purpose of the neshama coming down to earth?
Bring light.
For his own elevation, for his own purpose, for his own spiritual climb. No. The whole purpose of you doing tefillin and you learning and you davening is so that when you go into the world, you should bring that holiness into the world. So that when you're in the world, you fuse the world with holiness. Not that at the end of the day, you take some of that money and you give it to charity. Very nice. You utilize it also for good purpose. No, the whole going into the world is part of light. In other words, like in the plague. What happened over there? The Jew, he went into the Egyptians' darkness, and the light went with him. In other words, what's our job? To take the light of Torah and mitzvahs into the world. We're no longer relegating holiness to the synagogue, holiness to the shul, holiness to my kitchen or wherever, my sanctuary, my Shabbos. No, Sunday morning with bagels and lax, and Monday morning in the workplace. That becomes a sanctuary. Your office becomes a shul. Your car becomes a mitzvah tank. Becomes a place for godliness. That alone is a piece of God. Is a Chabad house. The whole physical, in other words, we don't go out to work to make money. See, people make them say, we go out to work to make money. With our money, We don't just want to spend it. We're not so hedonistic. So we're not going to just spend the money on my physical desires and temptations. No, I'm going to use the money to become a better Jew tomorrow, to be able to go to shul and daven, build a shul, build a mikveh,
Take time off. To go to
whatever. It's not there to serve holiness. That alone is holy. That alone is meant to become a holy experience.
So the pursuit should
This computer here, yeah? This computer is holy or is it not holy?
Depends on
Right
what you use
now,
it for.
what I'm doing is I'm going
Now it's
into a
holy.
world of darkness and I'm bringing a laser beam light with me. My neshama is light that had from Torah and mitzvahs into this darkness. I'm turning this into a yeshiva. This is now a yeshiva, this telephone, this computer, this plug, this chair, this table. That's what the Midrash says. These are not two separate things. You have your life as a spiritual life in the morning, and then you try to utilize your physical life for something holy later. It's not the way it's seen. The purpose is that Midrash says that in the plague of darkness, the Jew went, and with him went the neshama's light. The neshama's light. This miraculous light. What's this miraculous light? The light of Torah, the light of holiness, the light of... Now, what was ultimately the reason why God wanted us to take out this money from Egypt? So the Kabbalists and the Hasidic masters explained this very beautifully. Before I do that, I just want to mention that today, a life in the shtetl, or even life 100 years ago here in America in the West, what I'm describing was the way it was. In other words, where did a Jew go to learn? When you wanted to learn Torah, where did you go learn Torah?
100 years ago.
Thank you very much.
In this country.
In any country, where did they go learn?
The shul.
They went to the shul to learn. Yeah, that's where there were books. That's where everything was. Yeah. And where did they go work? They went to the farm and they worked. Right, wherever they went. A banker went to a bank. This one went to there. That spirituality was in the synagogue. And those two worlds didn't merge really that much. The Jews had light in their dwellings, and the Egyptians had darkness in their dwellings. And for the Jew, it wasn't dark. It wasn't completely dark. He had the natural light there as well. In other words, he was able to utilize the physical world for something holy at the end as well. Okay? What do you have today? Go into any restaurant. Go look what goes on in Hollywood on 12 o'clock in the afternoon in a restaurant in Hollywood. The chances are you're going to see someone sitting there with his rabbi learning Torah. Or 3 people, 4 people. There's a class in the restaurant. There's a class in the doctor's office. There's Torah on the internet. That's what I mean. The light follows the Jew into the darkness and lights it up. Not with some secondary holiness that at the end you can utilize the money for something holy. No, the very experience in the office become a holy experience. Well, how so? A Jewish customer comes in. Oh, it's an opportunity to put on film with a Jew. You got a Jewish customer in there. That's why you have a Jewish customer, to put on film with him, not to make an extra $1. After you finished film, oh, okay, I sell you something too. That's how it's seen. That's how the Midrash sees the world at large. The plague of darkness represents the world out there, Egypt. By the way, we're right before the plague of darkness. We're in the plague of darkness. Yeah. When did the plague of darkness happen? The Rebbe says in the Sikha, the plague of darkness happened right before the Exodus. That says in the Torah, but the Rebbe points it out. That's the last plague before they leave Egypt. I mean, there was a plague of the firstborn, but that was already the night they left. But the last preparation before leaving Egypt was the plague of darkness.
3 weeks prior, probably.
Yeah, a month before, 3 weeks before. Says the Rebbe, that's exactly now as well. We're right before the Exodus from this last exile. So we're now in a double and a quadruple and a triple and quadruple darkness right now. The plague of darkness is plaguing us. And what's our job? Not to have our shuls where there's some light in the shul like in Goshen. No, like the Midrash says, to bring that light that you had in the morning when you daven, that very light should follow you into the dark world and like a laser beam light everything up. And what's the job? To snatch out of the Egyptian darkness, everything they have and bring it into holiness. And that's the answer to your question, Ben. Why did Hashem tell us to take the treasures out of Egypt? It's very simple. The reason was because he wanted, because it says that that in everything physical, and this is a big physical world, in every physical object there are sparks of holiness. In this cup, in this table, in this paper, in this book, in everything. And what's our job? To extract the holy sparks and then bring them, include them into godliness, to make part of the holy world. It's like a spark that gets connected to the flame, to the big fire. There's sparks all over. There are billions and billions of sparks all over. But the Midrash says that there are really original sparks. There are 288 sparks. Reish Pei Ches Nitzutzin. There are 288 sparks of holiness. Now each one of those sparks are subdivided into billions and trillions. It says that when the Jewish people left Egypt, by the time they left Egypt, they had already extracted from the physical world 202 of those sparks. That's what it says. And where did they find these sparks? How did this happen? That's why Hashem told them, go get the treasures of Egypt. It wasn't the money. God said we have to take out of Egypt. Egypt became the very coarse place of the world, where the worst sparks found themselves, the lowliest sparks, let's put it. God said, you got to get it all out of there. There shouldn't be one spark of holiness left in Egypt. And that's why Moshe, God tells them, please tell them to go borrow whatever they can from the Egyptians. It wasn't about making them rich. God has many ways to make them rich. He doesn't have to get them to get from Egypt what this was. The purpose was to elevate the sparks, to transform that into something holy, to take it with them out of Egypt and include it into the world of Judaism, to the world of the Jew, which is taking the spark out of its exile and bringing it back to where it belongs. By the way, if I should mention here, while we have another 5 minutes, that next week's parsha we're going to read an interesting story. That after the splitting of the sea, it says that the Egyptians came with a whole army after the Jews, right? And that's why the sea split for the Jews, and the Egyptians got drowned in the sea. So what does it say? That when the waters closed back on the Egyptians, their bodies floated up, so that the Jews saw that the Egyptians were drowned there. But there was something else that floated up with them. When the Egyptians came to fight the Jews, they came with treasures and treasures of diamonds and pearls, and they brought out with them even more than the Jews took to begin with. They still had, I guess, barrels that no one found, or wherever. They didn't manage to get it all. So it says that Moshe Rabbeinu told the Jews, "No, let's go. We're going to Mount Sinai now. God's waiting for us at the mountain." And it says that he had to force them to go away from the sea. By Yasa Moshe, he had to force them away from the sea. Question is, I'm sure they wanted to go. They were counting the days, weren't they? So the Rashi tells us that he was busy. He had to force them away from the sea because they were busy collecting all that extra gold and silver and diamonds. The question is, they went out with so much fortunes. What? They got caught up with another few diamonds? Enough already. How much do you need? It's like God's waiting for you at the mountain and you're getting stuck up here with some more treasure. Like, leave it alone already. The answer is, because they understood why God told them to take the treasures out of Egypt, to extract all those sparks. You can't leave a spark of holiness in Egypt. So they said, we can't leave this here. This is all good stuff. This is all spark. This is all what God wants us to take with us, to elevate it into holiness. But Moshe said, no. There's no more sparks for you to take. That's what Moshe told them. Enough. You don't need that anymore. What you were supposed to take, you took already. In these pearls and diamonds, there's no holy sparks. There's nothing for you to take. And that's why he forced them out of there. He said, that's it. You don't need to. Let's go back. Let's get out of here. And this is a great lesson for us in life. As we stand right before the threshold of the redemption, and we look around us and it looks so dark. And it looks very challenging, right?
Especially tomorrow.
Huh?
Nothing.
What does God do for us? He makes miracles happen for us. What he does, he makes miracles happen for us. That we should be able to fulfill our job within the confines of nature. Because we're not here, we don't, people ask, why doesn't God make us a miracle? Why does it have to be so hard for us to be a Jew? Let him make it a little easier for us, right? Once in a while, drop some manna from heaven, right? Make it easy for us. Why do you make the whole idea that would defeat the purpose? The whole purpose is to infuse the world, to penetrate the world of nature with holiness. So God can't remove those miracles. He can't make miracles that would make it so easy for you that your natural, that nature falls away. That's not what we want. But this is the time that and according to the Midrash, what happens? God shines a light that opens up for us every challenge and every makes it possible for us to overcome our challenges according to nature. He leads the way for us, meaning to say he removes obstacles that don't have to be there. Once he removes the obstacle, then we fulfill it like the Alter Rebbe did, right? He removed the obstacle through a miracle. But then he said, now I want to do it according to nature. That's what Hashem does for us. He continuously moves obstacles for us naturally and supernatural in every other way, especially in the time of darkness, in the double darkness. This is the end of the exile. We're in the plague of darkness. And what's our job now? That's why I said to you, 100 years ago, how was Judaism observed? Holiness was in the holy realm, and you went to work. You were not. There was no. You didn't make you didn't have shul in the business. You didn't have Torah in the business. For that you went to shul. At the end of the day. But now, in our time, in the plague of darkness, our job is to follow into the darkness. We should draw a light, a laser beam light into every single thing that we do, wherever we are. Bring Torah into your business. Bring Torah into your office. Bring Torah into your everything. Because that's what God wants. This is His world. It's one world. There's no two worlds. Don't treat the world as if there's a separation. That finished at Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai, heaven merged with earth. The separation was removed. And now we have to see that the Torah that we learn in the morning, we should bring with us into the afternoon, into the day, into our experience, to utilize your business. Why are you in business? To find Jewish customers, to learn with them. To find Jewish customers to put on to. That's why you're in business. Some say, nah, this is, I don't want to put on film with them over here because this is, I'll get him to come to shul tomorrow morning. We'll do it in shul.
It's deeper than that.
No, that's the whole thing. Is that we should do it in the country. Your whole business is in order to make a yid put on film. Your whole business is there in order to make a lunch and learn.
And light in the darkness.
To make in the darkness itself, the very light of your neshama should come there. Not at the end of the day, you'll use the money for some holy purpose. No, while you're making the money, that itself is where you bring your neshama's holiness into. That alone is a part of the Torah's experience. That make any sense?
Yeah. Bob. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Now go do it.
Thank you, Rabbi Walter. Good to see you. You do this
Thank
every
you.
week at 7:45?
I do it every week at 7:45. Yeah, but you get my WhatsApps, no?
Yeah.
So you see, I send it out. I remind everyone every week. All those watching, thank you very much for watching. That's a nice crowd here. Anyway.
See you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. And we shall call it a night. Bye.